When it comes to musical heroes, few artists have earned Axl Rose's admiration quite like Elton John. Despite Axl's wild reputation and explosive stage presence, he's always spoken with genuine respect and gratitude toward Elton's influence on his life and career. From the way Elton shaped his approach to songwriting to the emotional moments they've shared on stage, their connection runs deeper than most fans realize. Today, we're diving into the unexpected bond between a rock rebel and a piano legend. This is the story of how Axl Rose met his idol, Elton John, and how the two became close friends. To understand the true story behind Elton John and Axl Rose, we have to go back to 1988, when Guns N' Roses released the album GNR Lies. Hidden among its tracks was a song that would ignite one of the biggest controversies of the band's career, "One in a Million." The lyrics sparked immediate outrage. Many listeners and advocacy groups felt the song included language that was offensive and derogatory toward minority communities. The backlash was swift and intense. The band faced public criticism, protests, and even threats. And this wasn't a scandal that faded quickly. Its shadow followed Guns N' Roses for years, shaping how the media and the public viewed them well into the early 90s. Yet during this turbulent period, something unexpected was happening behind the scenes. Axl Rose, known for his explosive personality and raw vocal power, began openly sharing his admiration for Elton John. He spoke about how deeply Elton's music had influenced him as an artist, revealing a side of himself that many fans had never seen. Here's what Axl said at the time.
I was way influenced by Elton John, and I got all his sheet music as a kid and everything, and figured, wow, this stuff is pretty technical. I can't play it, but I'll learn how to fake it real good. So it's like, instead of doing like, 5-fingered things on the left hand, I learned how to do octaves killer. That's a lot easier.
Axl has spoken many times over the years about just how deeply Elton John influenced him, not just as a musician, but as an artist. In one interview, he reflected on his early connection to Elton's music, saying he had always loved Benny and the Jets. From Elton's 1973 double album Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. Axl didn't just admire Elton, he was equally fascinated by Elton's longtime lyricist, Bernie Taupin. He said he was such a fan of Bernie's writing that he would love nothing more than to sit down and interview him about his lyrics. And interestingly, when Bernie was later asked what he thought of Axl's own work, he said he was an admirer, especially of the lyrics to "Sweet Child O' Mine." In one particularly passionate interview, Axl absolutely gushed about Elton John. He said, "Elton is just the baddest. There's nobody better when it comes to attacking the piano and using it in a rock sense." He pointed to songs like "Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting," "Grow Some Funk of Your Own," "Ballad of a Well-Known Gun," and "Someone Saved My Life Tonight" as examples of how heavy and powerful Elton's music truly was. Axl couldn't believe the streak Elton and Bernie had in the early 70s. 7 #1 albums in the US between 1972 and 1975. And Bernie was only 25 years old, writing lyrics off the top of his head, sometimes completing an entire album's worth in just a couple of hours. Axl said he was in awe of Bernie's vocabulary, his education, and the way he and Elton chose rock and roll instead of going down a more classical route. Together, they blended genres in ways that Axl found nothing short of amazing. But the most revealing moment came when Axl talked about Benny and the Jets. He said the ambience of the recording, the crowd noise, the energy, the atmosphere, actually made him want the stage. That song, he said, was the one that made him dream about performing live. It reminded him of the American glam rock scene he used to read about in old issues of Cream magazine, and the musicianship stunned him. He talked about Elton's piano playing, describing it as 10 fingers producing the strangest, most unexpected chords, combinations of notes that didn't follow the rules but somehow worked. As Axl put it, he just pulls off stuff that nobody else does. Axl also said that Elton was the major influence on his songwriting style. He said, "I know what I can and I can't do, so I aim it really carefully." But it's basically influenced off Elton John's attack and his singing. If you want to learn how to sing all different styles, try singing like Elton John, anything from the blues on it. It amazes me that radio in America doesn't give Elton John the space that they give Led Zeppelin, the Beatles, or the Stones. You know, you don't have Elton John Hour, yet you have 400,000 people going to Central Park to see Elton John, and you're gonna have sold-out tours all over the country. I just don't understand it. I haven't met a group of people that after you've played everything all night and you put on an Elton John record that don't go cool and kick back, and it's like just the albums on anything off the first 7 or 8 albums, you put one of those on and everyone just relaxes. It makes me feel good because of the vibrations and the styles of the songs and the styles of the writings, and the way they take you on so many different places on like one album. Also, the legendary GNR song November Rain was heavily influenced by Elton John. Here's what Guns drummer Matt Sorum told in his 1991 interview with MTV.
Anyway, Axl said, hey, we have a tune that's sort of, like Nigel Olsson type drum style, like Elton John's old drummer. I said no problem because I have all those Elton John albums. I love Elton John. Yeah. So I knew right what to do with it. So it wasn't really a problem.
In April of 1992, the Freddie Mercury tribute concert brought some of the biggest names in rock together on one stage. Among them were Elton John and Axl Rose, two artists from completely different worlds, suddenly united in front of millions. That night, they performed Bohemian Rhapsody together, creating one of the most unforgettable moments in rock history. But the story behind how Elton and Axl actually met is a bit more complicated. In fact, there are two different versions of that first encounter. Joe Elliott of Def Leppard, who also performed that night, shared one story. Axl, however, told a completely different one. According to Def Leppard's Joe Elliott, Axl was in the next room to us, he recalled. Elton told us he knocked on his door and Axl's big security guy said, "Axl's sleeping." And Elton said, "Well, I'm doing a duet with him in 4 hours." And the guy shrugged his shoulders and shut the door in Elton's face. So Elton comes into our dressing room and says to us, "What the fuck's wrong with that guy?" Elton had a little rant and a cup of tea, and then he took off. However, this version of events doesn't quite line up with Axl's own recollection. Years later, during an interview on Eddie Trunk's show in 2006, Axl shared a very different memory, one in which he actually rehearsed with Elton before the performance even took place.
Freddie Mercury tribute, you sang with Elton John.
Yeah.
And it was obvious that you were a huge Elton John fan, just from the stuff that you've been doing. How cool was that for you to play with him in front of so many people?
That was amazing, and I didn't know they were going to do that pyro though, and that was really amazing and really fun. But it was pretty intense because meeting Elton came to my room and he sits down on his couch and we start talking about the song, and Elton is like sitting there and he's getting more tense, and he's turning really red and stuff. And because what's going on in his head is like he doesn't know me,
right.
And and this is a big age thing, and he's dealing with people telling him different stories about me and homophobic or whatever, and 1 in a million and everything, and we're trying to talk, but he's getting more tense. And finally he goes, "I'm a gay man." Okay, and I went, cool. So when we hit the bridge, the song, it's like, and then we were fine. It's like,
Once he told you he was a gay man, then it was okay.
And I was like, peace, I don't have a problem. It's like, okay. So then he was like, Okay, all right.
And then I remember when you came out on stage with him, he kind of looked at the camera and went, he's cool. I like him. He's a good
And
guy.
we've got along, ever since.
We got to go see
I
Lestat.
just saw him a little while ago, so he was
Have
great.
you seen it?
Several months later, at the MTV Video Music Awards, Elton John and Axl Rose would once again share the stage, this time for a powerful performance of November Rain. It was another unlikely pairing, another moment that showed the growing connection between the two artists. Here's what Axl said about the performance.
He really got his place in the song live, but just looking over and seeing him playing the song was just, I've never been that nervous or felt that much under pressure because I was so blown away. Because I'm like, no way, that's Elton John sitting across playing the song. And he's just into it, just doing it, whatever. And he kept teasing me and laughing, and I was like trying to keep concentrating because that was the longest version of November Rain, just mentally, to play ever. I was like, when is this song going to end so I can relax?
Fast forward to 1994. Guns N' Roses had been off the road for about 5 or 6 months. Then came the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony, a night that would unexpectedly bring Axl Rose and Elton John together once again. Axl took the stage to induct Elton into the Hall of Fame, but he used the moment to do something more. He also took the opportunity to honor Bernie Taupin, Elton's longtime lyricist and creative partner.
Never done anything like this before, so this will be kind of simple put together, but I've never really understood what the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was about, but tonight I'm getting an education, and I'm thankful for that. I've always considered the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame kind of in my record collection, on my radio, now on MTV, but more importantly in our hearts and minds. For myself, as well as many others, no one has been there more for inspiration than Elton John. Also, when we talk of great rock duos like Jimmy Page and Robert Plant, John and Paul, Mick and Keith, I like to think of Elton John and Bernie Taupin. But also tonight, I think that Elton should be honored for his great work and contribution in the fight against AIDS. And also his bravery in exposing all the triumphs and tragedies of his personal life. And the knowledge of these things helps ourselves get through things every day. When I first heard Benny and the Jets, I knew at that time that I had to be a performer. So now a man who in ways is responsible for more things than he ever planned on, Elton John.